brought up in Thanksgiving is Mom wouldn't say love. She wouldn't say she loves her oldest daughter. And I don't want to hold that. She used to tell me she loved me all the time.
I heard her say it.
I mean, I got tired of hearing it. Personally, I got tired. I know, Mom, shut up about it.
I never heard LOL or abbreviation or anything.
Okay,
closer and all this.
So my question to Breck and Lisa was your experience the same as mine? And what we found out is we each had different needs, sets of needs, and different things that mattered to us and a different experience. But I can remember as a little girl saying, Mom, how come you don't tell me you love me? How come you don't hug me? And she would just say, I don't know. I just don't feel comfortable hugging you as you've gotten older or something like that. And I'm sure it's the way she was raised, but I thought, was it different for Trina and Lisa, the little girls? Was it different for the boys? You know, and so that was, but Mom would say, I do this for you. I, show you by, I do more for you than anyone. And she, and she did. And I know that's how she showed me that she loved me. But as a kid, sometimes you don't understand, And so I was just curious. And then, Lisa had a different experience, and Breck Breck just thinks that he was the favorite. So
no one argues that. There is no dispute of that. I was Mom's favorite, the favorite.
Why were you the favorite? Like, what made you know that?
Well, she had incredibly good taste.
She just thought he was funny. She thought everything he
She
did.
would tell all of us. Mom was really good about saying things about you, but it was hard for her to say it to you. But she would she would always tell us, oh, Breck's this or Breck's that. But she would say that about the other kids and say, oh, Trina's doing this or Todd is doing this or whatever.
One of my earliest memories are of Breck planting this huge kiss on Mom that went on for like a minute and a half, and I'm thinking, I want some of that. Mom goes, ow! And Breck was right back, and I asked her, how come Breck gets kissed and I don't? She goes, because it feels better when he does it. You're too rough or something.
Wow.
I'm trying to do the same thing.
And it's crushing when you're...
Yeah, I was going, whoa, that is my earliest memory. Now, I gave up even trying to get, my goal was to make Mom feel guilty whenever I could about anything about it. This is a typical thing that still makes me mad to this day. She divides these garbage, permanent detail, right?
The garbage shop?
We're taking the garbage out. I'm kitchen garbage. This is with paper bags, and I'm taking them out like 3 times a day.
This is so funny. The look on Gray's face, like you can just
I don't
see
even
how
remember, but
frustrated.
I guess I got guest bathroom.
Right. So,
Todd and Breck are both just...
I kept complaining about it. I said, this is a rip-off. This is not... And she goes, you are such a complainer. Breck has 3 bathroom garbages. He has 3 garbages. He has both bathrooms plus the one by my makeup thing. And I said, well, I'll trade. I'll tell you what, I feel bad for it. I'll trade. So we trade last 1 week. And then Mom goes, we have to rotate. I said, no, well, hold on. I'm taking the brunt of this. I'm keeping my mouth shut. You won't hear another word out of me. Well, Brett complained and told her this was 10 times worse than the bathroom, which was you could grab them all with 2 fingers and not have a milk carton shoved in your nostril if you're carrying those paper bags that would rip halfway there. So with Breck, it had to be all reorganized. Well, let's make this fair with me. I was a complainer.
Well, I think no one is going to argue that you were not Mom's favorite.
I was not. No one can argue that.
I mean, somebody can argue she had been dead.
Your least favorite.
I was least favorite.
Yeah.
Now, what the consolation is, though, I was also Dad's least favorite. It all evens out.
And I was talking to Trudy, in the family system, every family has a scapegoat. And we've talked about this, you were our scapegoat, so our family had to have someone to...
You gotta have a scapegoat.
I mean, yeah, and I think everyone does. And I felt bad about that. We talked about that.
And I did not ever even know.
Holden, cover your ears. We're about to talk about you.
Pick up some footage here. I'll tell you one of the first memories I had. I was just a little kid in Phoenix. I don't know what grade I was, but Mom is making lunch or something, and she says, she's taking a pot of soup out, and out of the blue, not out of the blue, she says, now Brett, don't touch that. You know those coil things, the burners? And as soon as she walked away, I touched it. Like, what did you tell me not to? Like, I'm blaming her. You know, like, why'd you?
And so it all began.
Yes, it did. Is if someone said, "Don't do that," I did it.
You're like,
that was the first
You and
time.
Chad are made out of the
I
same
never
mold.
would have thought to touch that hot thing. But she said,
Chad's over here, just a little heads up.
Yeah.
Scared at all.
I know.
Nothing wrong with Chad, but be careful.
I have told him.
Nothing
you're
wrong, but
not
be
the
careful.
threat.
It comes back to haunt you.
Pat's going out the door
Well,
right now.
I will, let me chime in on at least Mom and her showing of affection. I don't remember her saying I love you. I don't remember hugs or anything like that. But I don't remember ever wanting that or needing that. I guess I would say that both Mom and Dad, I never questioned their love for all of us.
Yeah.
Says
Well,
the
but
A
that's-
student. All
Yeah, but
girls like
that's what they're saying. However you needed to be loved.
Yeah, I
Because to
didn't
me,
need a thing.
my love was through service and stuff like that, and I always knew Mom was going to stick up for me, or she, you know, like I said, I never realized that the laundry didn't just do itself. You know, I mean, I never saw her do it, but I always had clean clothes.
But, and I will say, the other thing about, I will at least say, maybe an insight with Ray is, I think Mom and Dad felt really, really guilty that you got hit by the car.
Oh, so now this is a
Wait, I don't remember hearing a story about Ray getting hit by a car.
I run over by a car.
When he was 4 years old.
Really?
No, he was younger than that.
Let me tell you where it all comes from.
It was, my mom likes to call the game
It
fetch.
causes trouble.
What'd you say?
She
Great.
could put a backspin on
For
it.
all you kids.
Stop right in the middle of the street.
We had a rule, you do not cross the street. I mean, we were allowed to play in the front yard, but you could not cross the front street without an adult, unless, you know, you had permission. And so Gray was 4 years old, and he went out in the street, and some lady came driving by and hit him, and he was in a coma for a few days, right?
What?
And he was lying on the ground. There was an ambulance there, and a little bit of blood, and he just kept going, "Mom, Mom," but he was out of it, and it was really scary.
I
And
don't remember a thing.
and then he came out of it, and he was okay. But then the lady had to pay him a settlement. And
Which he never saw any of those.
and Dad gave him some advice on how to use the settlement when he came of age.
Always.
And
And how
Dad
not
tried
to use
tell me I
it.
couldn't have it
Guess
till
how
I'm
great he
21,
used
and I said, so what about when they changed the law to 18? So finally, I found out I get one. So I blew it by the time I was 21, that money was gone.
well, didn't he tell you Don't go out and buy a car.
No, he told me, what he was telling me growing up, you can only spend this for education. Like, there's a law about it. So I'm talking to my friends, I said, you can buy, you can do whatever you want with it. I mean, it was a moot point. I mean, it wasn't a huge amount of money.
Like
$7,000
$7,000
Yeah,
or something.
$7,000. The original payment was like $2,500 with the interest and stuff. It had got up to $7,000. But it wasn't a life changer. It wasn't like millions or anything. It wasn't.
Greg, I was telling Brett that I remember talking to Mom one time because in my perception, we'd all been, you know, raised the same and treated the same. And I said something to Mom about it, and she said no. She said, you know, I can't remember if she said we or I, you know, didn't. And I could tell she felt bad.
Well, she apologized on her deathbed.
Really?
About how she treated me, and Dad did the same thing. I mean, my question was always, I mean, you have a kid that's not doing good in school, you sit down with him and make him do his homework with you. You just don't keep grounding him because he's going to get good grades time after time. But
You know what I wonder? I wonder if I've thought about this before, you know, being around Papa Teak with Stacy and Vance, especially with Stacy, and thought, you know, maybe you kind of take what you're given and build on that, and maybe that made it a lot, you know, a lot harder.
well, Dad said you get, ideally, well, what shortcomings you had when you were raised, if you are mature and learn from it, you don't let the same thing happen to your kids.
And if you don't, if you can recognize and see, you know, that this is something that needs to change, but sometimes people just repeat it without even realizing they're doing it.
No, they do. But I remember when Becca was having trouble, she had a bad teacher or something, and we would just sit down with her every day till her grades were up. And then once she got out of that teacher, she did great. But Dad saying, man, if I just done that with you, but I had a learning disability that no one understood.
That's what it was,
about.
dyslexia.
In those days,
nobody knew what it was.
there was no program in school.
They thought you couldn't.
I mean, when they actually get to with me, they're thinking the same thing in their mind.
They just think you're just not trying.
Well, they always said it was, no, they thought
They
I was damaged from the car wreck, which maybe that's caught. I mean, other people have dyslexia, but I couldn't get a math problem right or spell right.
Unless you did it verbally.
Well, a lot of times they don't have verbal tests. You have to write it down. So I was going to miss them no matter what. I was going to get the math no matter how hard I worked. So I learned early on, I'm getting the same grade either way. If I can diligently try to do this, and I'm going to get the wrong answer. So it's just easier not to do it. So at least I'm not.
Well, I guess
Not wasting all that time with homework. I'm getting that time anyway.
I'm gonna get it anyway.
Makes the lake a lot more enjoyable when you don't take a book.
Well, Dad gave me a way to improve my grades. I think I was in, I don't know, all through 4th grade, I was getting like D's and stuff. And he said, hey, if you can get your grades up to a B average, I'm going to give you, I'll buy you a motorcycle. I got like A's. And he goes, Brett, I know I told you. You know how Dad felt about a motorcycle, death machine.
leaving prophecy back.
He did, but this is what he did. He said, I'm going to give you the amount of money it would take you to get a motorcycle, but I'm going to advise you do not get a motorcycle. I would never buy a motorcycle now, because I couldn't against Dad.
But they're not supposed to, they tell you don't do it, you always do it.
Not on that one, man. He freaked me out, because he
That's
has some bad things about the motorcycle.
We saw a wreck that year when we were out on the ranch when this lady
I got to
died.
San Pedro. right? Yeah.
Yeah, we were coming home from a branding, this lady died.
Oh, I saw one with all the people from the
That-
truck.
No, this
was messy.
this was a motorcycle.
Scary.
And
You
as
were
soon
there,
as we
you
saw
remember
that,
Sick all
Dad
over the
said,
house.
Breck is not getting a motorcycle.
Because I like to go faster than that.
Yeah.
He knew I would kill myself or have a bad accident creep me out.
I wanted to get just a little mini bike, and I said, Dad, I'm gonna save up my money and do it. And he says, okay, well, when you save up your money, then we're gonna go down to the emergency room. And after you see the first motorcycle accident, then you can decide.
And he would do it
And
too.
that was enough. I said, okay, I'll give up.
Dad was so good at that. Like, he would never say, you have to do this, or you can't do that. He'd
Just
always
present the
say,
facts.
he'd always say, okay,
You got it.
then this is gonna happen. And you'd be like,
What the
oh.
heck's on you?
Well, I can remember one time when Mark and I lived in Sierra Vista and Gray and Angie were there, and there was a ward Christmas party that Angie wanted to go to and Gray did not want to go to it. So Dad told do a favor for me, and I remember Gray going, oh, darn it. I could say no to Angie, but not say no to the dad favor. So he went to the ward. Do you remember that?
What, he pulled
No,
a
but I'm guessing
Godfather?
I was probably made miserable.
Yeah,
You paid
right?
I promised
You wouldn't have
why.
brought it.
Well, you got what you want. Hope we're happy.
Trust me, I did
Watching
that
the
way too
video.
many times.
No, now that the shoes are on the other foot, and I'm like in hot water because this didn't start at 7 o'clock. Right about now.
Yeah, this is for future generations. I don't think any of my projects are going to be watching this.
So what were they like?
We did on a more cheerful note.
Yeah,
What were Grandma?
Some happier
Yes.
stories.
Yeah.
I guess.
What were Grandma and Grandpa like when they were younger? Since none of the grandkids never knew them when they were
I was just a
younger.
baby then.
One of the things that I remember, Dad was working for the city prosecutor's office in Phoenix. He told us that his job was the garbage man who got to stand on the back of the truck. The big garbage truck is, that was before the automated, and so there was the driver and there was two guys that stood on the back.
Hanging on the rod, like
Standing,
boots and
holding
stuff,
on,
having
and then they
fun.
would step off and throw the garbage in, and then it would just move on. And for a little kid, he thought that was the perfect job. What could get better than that? And so that was what he told us was his job. And then he also trained us that when he would come home, and I don't know if you guys, but I know Truly and I, we would say, "Here comes the grand old man, here comes the grand old man." And he'd come in and we'd run to him and say, "Hey, the grand old man's home." And he trained us to do that. Seems like every day. when he would get home.
He was a lot of fun. He would play with us. He would tickle us a lot, like to the point sometimes where you're like,
Yeah.
He would do something with Truly about Mighty Mouse.
oh yeah.
And tease her about, I'm stronger than Mighty Mouse.
He would say, "It's your boyfriend, your boyfriend," and I would get so mad at him. "He's not my boyfriend." And he would imitate Mighty Mouse, and it was a cartoon that was on when we were little
Called the
kids.
old big ears.
Oh yeah, that's right. He would call
So
them
Chris,
old
Dad
that's
would
what,
tease.
that's what started my teasing with you. I was
Dad-
my dad.
Dad would tease.
I was
Yeah.
probably not the same temperament as Todd and my mom.
Well, you were a lot like your mom. You would say, "My name isn't Curtis." I am not Curtis. Remember when I called you that when you got short haircut because you tried to cut your own hair? And I said, "I'm gonna start calling you Curtis." I'm not
do remember
Curtis.
Dad would tease a lot, but Mom thought Dad, you know how Dad would say his little puns or his jokes, and Mom would be like silently laughing. She thought he was so funny, man, and he was hilarious.
Dad would make you
Grandpa
laugh.
Allen was hilarious. He had the quickest mind that he could say something that was so comprehensive just on the.
And it would be like not a loud attention getter. It would just be like a quiet little
sometimes you'd have to think
thing,
about it.
and it would just be so funny.
Hilarious.
And you could think of stuff that he said years later, and it would just make you start laughing.
Let me tell you something, Trevor, since you're filming this. When Mom and Dad were first dating, they went to a Chinese restaurant. And they gave their name, they're having to wait for a table.
Or were they ordering takeout on the phone?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is different.
Okay.
Anyway, they're waiting for a table, so I asked both parents how Dad worked. His dad said he was seeing when they come, someone would come to the hostess and say, they'd say a table's ready. He knew it was his turn, and right about before the lady came, he goes to Mom and he said, hey, you spelled our name wrong to the hostess. And Mom said, what? I didn't know. He said, yeah, you spelled it Porrey. Right about that. Table for Porrey! Porrey! Table for two! And Mom said she started laughing so hard she couldn't quit laughing. And the Oriental hostess thought she was crazy because she was just laughing. Dad timed it perfect, so right after he asked about this girl, Porrey! He knew that was going to happen.
Another time he teased us is they had some party down at the ward, and part of that they had a karate demonstration.
Oh, I remember that.
And me and Brecken Gray thought that guy was, he was, so the whole way home,
I remember.
Dad just kept saying, oh, that guy wasn't that tough.
No, I
could take him. Oh, no, I could take him.
Nobody
No way.
Did you see
Nobody. I can take that guy.
You see, he's a little shrimp. No, you can't. He'll flip. He can do things.
And he would just have us worked up in
He
such
just
a
loved to
into
get
a
you
frenzy.
Once he
going.
knew the hook, you were powerless. He would just push it.
And he would try to, I don't know, was really good at figuring out who you secretly liked or had a crush on that you never told anybody.
Mighty Mouse.
Yeah, like Mighty Mouse.
Or Liz Stokes.
And then he would tease you, and so he had these cows that he kept on Central Avenue in Phoenix on this farm, little black Angus cows. And so I was like in second grade, and you were in first grade or something, and he named one of them Black Tooth Mary, because there was this girl in Todd's grade. Did she have black teeth?
She had just like a dead tooth. I was just thinking of that. Because he would always say, what'd you do at school? And what I say. And so I say Mary. She says, oh, well, tell me about Mary. Oh, she's got like a black tooth. And then my girlfriend was Black Tooth Mary.
And he named the calf after it. And then there was a boy in my class named Pete Garias, which I know, I never said anything. I don't even know how my dad knew his name. And he named this one little calf Black Pete. And he would just do anything just to tease you.
Remember the morning dance at the church in Sierra Vista in that little building in the way back, and every time Dad must have been something, he was like the chaperone or something. He said every time we go down there, they're playing cherish is the word. You know, slow dance, you get a little grind on, right? And what was he saying about it?
He would just sing it. He would start singing it to Todd. Because he saw Todd slow dancing with Liz Stokes. And so he would just start going, cherish is the word.
And that's funny the first 500 times. After that,
he never forgot. Tell him about the time you were out, the girl came over and you were outside playing pool.
The girl had moved away and she came back to visit her friend. And so she called me and said, hey, I'm back in town and we just wanted to stop by. and I'm thinking, no way, dude, you cannot come to my house. But I couldn't think of a way to say it. So she came, and Uncle Francis was visiting, and I was just really worried. And so I waited outside. I saw him coming. We walked in the gate, and in the back on the patio we had a pool table. So we were playing pool, and I was talking to them. And all of a sudden, I looked, and Dad and Uncle Francis were in the kitchen looking out the window, these big smiles on their face. And I thought, oh no, I am never going to do this.
And Uncle Francis, both of them
Yeah,
above the scene.
just with smiles on their face.
One time when I was in elementary school, the thing was to go in, like if you liked someone or just for fun, to go TP people's houses. And so these boys came over and TP'd our house at night, and my dad put on his bathrobe and just went there and was just watching them, just staring out the screen door. And they were so scared of him. They looked up and saw him and they said, "Your dad is really big and he has this hairy chest," and he was just standing there staring at us. And Dad just thought that was so funny, just to sit
Didn't
there.
they
and
say
wait for
something
him.
like he looks like a gorilla or something?
Maybe.
I thought Dad went out and scared him or something.
He did something. He scared
I think he said, "Hey, I hope you're having a good time. I expect you back in the morning to clean all this up."
Yeah,
Well, yes,
I
sir,
wasn't
yes,
there.
sir.
Dad could be very physically intimidating.
He
When
went
he
out
wanted
and
to
scared
he
him.
was a
Oh,
gnarly dude.
my friends were.
He was frightening, huge.
I couldn't understand why, when they're older, they said, "I used to be scared. I used to be in love with your mom and afraid to death."
What was Grandma like when she was younger?
She was always very even-tempered. You rarely saw her like getting angry or upset. She seemed real even. She was super organized. Our house ran like clockwork. Everything was always like clean, and she's really talented.
She was a delegator when it came to the chores. I remember that. She'd divide them up. We all knew what we had to do every day.
Yeah, she
Before
was.
we could go out and play or whatever.
But she like.
Keep you up on that.
She always kept things running smoothly. You know, I don't ever remember a time the laundry wasn't done, or you know, the house got in a mess, or
She'd make dinner every night with a dessert every night. The times that we weren't going out to a restaurant. I mean, you actually went to restaurants a lot.
Well, when Mom started working especially, but it was always a well-balanced meal. You had your fruit, your salad, your green.
And she was a beautiful woman. She volunteered like she was your homeroom mother, and she was pretty enough that the other kids, even little kids, would say, "Wow, your mom is so pretty."
Yeah, when she went on the field trip, all the little, I want to be in her group.
even when I was a junior in high school, my guy friends would be like, "Your mom is beautiful."
When you mean even, they get more attractive.
Well, I'm saying she stayed.
Yeah.
You know, she didn't look older.
When we had that family picture, and people would say, "Who's the mom? It looks like your sister." And Dad would say, "How come no one asked me?"
Your brother is.
Yeah, you guys are always Dad. They say she looks like my sister. Dad goes, "What'd they say about me?"
But well, combine Mom with Dad. Dad grew up with divorced parents, started working.
But he grew up in a beautiful community.
Yeah. Almost
Grim.
But he working from the time, I mean, he was really
Saw the milk truck.
I think
12.
He was like in
that's
elementary
what
school,
I
right?
remember.
This was
12 years old
elementary
when he
school.
delivered milk.
But he got a football scholarship and he got an academic scholarship. And when freshmen were ineligible, so he took the academic scholarship his freshman year. Then he switched to the football scholarship because he could stay in the dorms. And he still had a year of eligibility and a year of scholarship. So his first year of law school, he was his first year of law school, he was the captain of the football team at U of A. He was married and had 2 children.
And he was the most eligible bachelor the same year.
No, I think that
He was most eligible.
Mom thought he had a photographic memory. And
I almost think he does.
And I asked Dad, he goes, I don't have a photographic memory. Uncle Bill said that, you know how dudes studied for the bar? He said your dad crammed for the bar. Like the day or 2 before, he just buckled down and went through it and passed it.
Like he
Very
go to law
smart.
school.
No, Grandpa West didn't.
Grandpa
No, he did go to law school, so he was like
Oh, yeah.
studying, but he.
But he didn't spend
Did you
any
ever
time
see
on
him
that.
read the paper? He would just be like he was leafing through it. He was reading it. He'd go so fast. He could read something really quick.
Very intelligent.
So
Super
he used to always find jobs for me, starting when I was 12 years old. And at the time I was thinking, why? But then I look back and see kind of what his upbringing was. And so the fact that, you know, he wanted me to work and go to seminary and then school and have a job after school and do all these different things, that was nothing compared to, you know, what he was used to doing.
He changed that theory because I wanted to get a
Greg
job.
put him down.
Well, I wanted to get a job at
Yeah,
Lindy's because all my
possibly
friends had a
Greg.
job, and
He
he's
wasn't
like,
playing
"You will
around."
have plenty of time to work." So he would, and I was 16, and he would. Well, and it was late nights.
It would be
and
interesting
weekends.
to ask him why he changed.
Well, I
so
think he
much.
thought Wendy's would be unsafe because you worked at night, but he told me you have your whole life to work. So
Well,
he
he
did
did
change.
There had to be
Yeah.
some gender things too.
There were
male and
gender-
female.
No.
Truly had a job.
Really had
He-
jobs. That's
He
true.
started off, he always had a job for Todd and I. And when I said, you know, I don't really want
Greg
to
did a
work
lot of
this
hard
job.
work for all of us lower rungs of the ladder.
You guys worked Dairy Queen for a little while.
Then I had a job in the mountains at the ranch. I always had that job, and I had I was grounded most of the time. That's how I got off there. That's just yard work.
Greg
You got
was so
grounded so you couldn't
special.
go to work?
He had his own
What?
wing
No.
of the house.
No, the way
He had
I
a special room.
when I was grounded, I had chores to do. I remember your friend saying, "Man, your brother is always working." Didn't know I was in trouble every day of the week. But this is what I remember about Dad. I knew that my dad was stronger and smarter than any man watched. I
Hands
never
down. Hands
even
down.
had to think about it.
There was a way that me and Greg and all of our friends saw Dad, and just the way how strong he was. He was the best shoveler in America. He could take a shovel, and we would be jumping on it and using our legs, and he would just go, beat us through caliche, through rocks. We're struggling, and he was the best shoveler.
Do you remember this? When he'd grab your hand and do the knuckle roll? I used to hate that one.
I remember he could lift railroad ties. And I got to be pretty strong, and that's hard to do because your balance is all messed up. And you get a whole lot of splinters out of your forearm. But he didn't have trouble lifting anything. But his brains are what you grew to admire later. If he got mad at something or had a vendetta against someone, he would go to his law books and he would have them begging for mercy. My friend Jeff Eaton, who Dad was pretty close with, he was a good friend of mine, he got a ticket for speeding, like a real high extreme speeding or something, and Dad heard about it, and he goes, Jeff, call me. I said, why is this ticket? He goes, no, that is a major ticket. That can keep him from getting a job. They can take away his license and everything. So he helped Jeff out. He's going to talk to the judge. And so anyway, the lawyer for the policeman, the prosecutor guys, why are you even here? They're going to laugh at your defense and throw it out. And that made Dad mad. And he goes, Jeff, come with me. And he started looking at law books. Anyway, he grilled that policeman about how could his eyesight be good. Anyway, he got him off scot-free, and he was just going to ask for a lesser sentence. He got mad and embarrassed he said that other attorney, Jeff told me, started complaining and crying, and Dad said, he's not going to make it as a lawyer if he can't get used to losing. Somebody made the mistake of insulting what Dad could or could not do.
Well, I
He
think
didn't do that.
Dad definitely did not like people being unfair
Right.
to other people, and he would stand up for the underdog.
He liked the underdog.
And
Didn't like it when Jimmy Burnham got punched at the softball game. He was gonna take it.
Probably he thought. At first I thought he's gonna physically do something just to correct the situation. We're doing the softball game, you shake everybody's hands afterward, and this guy from Tombstone, Jimmy Burnham, he's walking up to him, and Jimmy puts his hand out, and this other guy cracks him right in the mouth. It was the Epperson's cousin.
Well, he shook him with the right hand and punched him with the left during handshake. That was a sign of friendship, and he punched him. Made Dad so mad. So Dad, I got the same thing. Dad is going to beat this guy. So he goes up to him and he goes, I am going to prosecute you. You are going to have a felony. You will never get a job. You will never do this. And he was just verbally with those words making sure that that guy knew his life was over from that moment on. Man. Everyone.
I put a pall on the whole strategy.
The wind wasn't so good.
He was intimidating.
Yeah, and Brother Epperson, it was his nephew. He didn't know, because he idolized Dad. He didn't know what to do.
But Dad didn't do anything,
No.
right? Good.
They had to call bishops. Stick. Mainly, Brother Epperson calmed him down.
Dad, and he made you sit in the jail one night, but remember that time I had a little mischief with the duster? And I don't remember
Lisa,
this.
if someone rings the doorbell, don't answer it. And you know nothing about the job.
Apparently, I was hanging out with the game hour, and I apparently was drag racing a cop.
Apparently?
I don't remember this. And I'm driving home, and I do remember making a left-hand turn, and somehow the steering wheel getting caught here, and I did a U-turn and ran this lady's in the front yard raking or something. And I go right in front of her and run over a mailbox. You stop! You stop! You can't get away! And I go home, and then the next day I'm like, listen, Lisa, cops come by, you guys pulled a Schultz. You know nothing. I don't. So anyway, Dad asked me, Brett, did you do this? And I'm like, I don't know. And he goes, what do you mean you don't know? I was in a blackout. And he goes, doesn't that scare you? I'm like, no, it doesn't scare me. And he goes, man, he was just flabbergasted that I could do that. So we got to go into the police station because they're going to prosecute me. The cop thinks he knows me. The lady thinks she can identify me. And Dad just said, Brett, don't say a word. We go in there. He's got the thing dismissed like that. That really served me well.
Yeah, I do remember.
No repercussions. I think it scared him that it didn't bother me.
Well, I remember on those same lines, the wash to the Martingale house, the duster's in the middle of the sand, way off the road.
The squirrel.
And Brett, Jack goes, what happened? He says, a squirrel jumped out in front of me, and he says, sure it wasn't a pink squirrel.
And whenever he would catch me, the next morning he'd get me up at 6 o'clock in the morning, and we'd have some hardcore physical task, and he was loving it. I'd be sitting there, Breck, you want to go get lunch? I'm like, no, I can't get lunch.
lunch. He goes, are you sure? It's really good hamburger. What's the matter? You got a case of the brown bottle flu? He just worked it out, man.
Yeah, I had a few of those days.
Oh, he loved the whole